Alright, in this tutorial we are going to learn how to color correct and use video scopes to make your image look a little bit more presentable. So if you look at the clip that I've chosen here, it looks a little bit yellow and overblown because of this lamp back here. We might be able to fix a little bit of this. So to make sure you have your system settings set. So I have my scratch disk set to my desktop. You may want something different, and make sure your project is saved. So bring your clip, drag it down to the timeline, and double click on it so it pops up in the viewer. Go ahead and apply a filter. So go to Effects, and we want Way Color Corrector. Drag and drop onto the viewer or on top of your clip, doesn't matter which one, and click Visual. So this will bring up your three-way color corrector. Something that's going to help us a little bit is the Show Excess Luma. It may or may not be on, but to get to that, there's a little kind of box that's in your canvas up here. Click on that. Drop box will appear, and go to Show Excess Luma. And you can see right away that these zebras are actually showing that I have a lot that's pretty overblown. And that's denoted by my exclamation point here, as well as the red and green zebra stripes. So something that we can do to fix it is to pull out our video scopes. So if you go to Tools, you can pull out your video scopes right here, or the keyboard shortcut is Option 9. And up will pop your video scopes. It may pop up over the viewer, but what I would recommend is dragging it over on top of your browser here. So go ahead and click on this down and go to Waveform so we can actually see the levels. And we can see the max where true white would actually be found. And we can see right here, this curve up here is exactly what we're seeing that's overblown up here. So we can fix that. And we can also see that there's a lot of space down here that we could be using for the black levels as well, so we can use the full spectrum. So to fix that, we're going to use our three-way color corrector over in the viewer. Let's first pull these levels down. So we're going to keep an eye on this exclamation point as well as this. And we want to keep these levels below this point, this 100% white point. So go ahead and you can either click and drag around, or you can click on these little arrows on the left and right in the white area. So as we click, we can see that the levels are coming down over here, and some of this is starting to go away, which is good. And there it is. So we see a check mark, which means our levels are good. We still have a few zebra stripes, but we're still good. Just to be a little bit safer, I'm going to click a few more down, and we can already see that the image is starting to get better. Down in the black levels here, we can actually go ahead and lower those levels as well. To do that, it's similar to the white. Just go ahead and click until it gets close to this black level, or the 0% mark. So we can see that it's getting pretty close. And then the mids, you can add or detract depending on your taste. It looks pretty darn good, so I'm going to keep it pretty where it is. So another thing that we can do, we can check the saturation. So if you go to this waveform, click and go to your vector scope. And your vector scope will show average skin tone peaking around 40. So right here we can see that there's a lot of skin tone, and this line right here, this purple line, is actual average skin tone, right in between the yellows and the reds. And we want this to peak around 40, so something that we could do is actually go to our three-way color corrector and pull the saturation back just a little bit. So it's actually going to be peaking a little less, so it'll be right around that 40 mark, which is good. Now, something that we can do, we don't need our video scopes anymore, so you can click out of that, but we're going to go ahead and color correct now. So if you look at your three-way color corrector, there's a few different ways to do this, but one way is using this pen dropper. I would always start with the whites and click on this pen dropper so it's highlighted, and then find something that's true white in your image. If you don't have anything, you might have to do this by eye. But lucky for me, my character here is actually holding a white sheet of paper. I wouldn't recommend using any kind of walls because walls are frankly just never white. If they are, you can, but I wouldn't recommend it right off the bat. So right here, I'm going to go ahead and click. And if you notice, the image changed. And if you look over into this white area in the three-way color corrector, our little dot here actually went and jumped towards the blue. That actually automatically corrected and pulled everything towards the blue, so it actually looks a little bit better. You can do the same thing with the blacks. I would go to the blacks next versus the mids, and you can actually find the darkest area in it. You want something that's true black. It's hard to find, but once you find it, you can click and you can see that it's actually pretty good. So this level's pretty good. And your mids, it's hard to find something, but it should be about 15% gray that you should be clicking on. I don't see too much of anything that's 15% gray. But let's go ahead and click our eye to see where we came from and where we've gone. So if we click it off, we can see that it was really overblown. Everything looked really yellowish and red. So when we click that back on, it looks a lot better. So that's how you color correct and use video scopes and vector scopes to correct your image for levels and color correction, and as well as saturation.